Question. Kim, what if I clearly see a subconscious self but lack wisdom to let go of it? For example, I have a subconscious self of a pundit or expert. I see it, but then I think, okay, but how do I overcome it? Why do I need to overcome this? I don't see the problem. Well, what I have explained is that we are in an unascended sphere where we are allowed to have the experience that we go into what I call the consciousness of separation, the illusion that we are separate beings. And therefore, we can have certain experiences as separate beings that we can't have when we see ourselves as connected beings. And one of the common experiences we can have as separate beings is we are better than others somehow, in some way or another. It can be like the person describing, I'm a pundit, I'm an expert, I know better than other people. I am one of the scribes and Pharisees who know better than Christ. And you see that in all societies. There are people who feel they know more than others. This is just one of the experiences you can have as a separate being. And what I also explain is that the purpose of doing this is to have these kind of experiences until we've had enough of them. So we are allowed to have these experiences as part of the working out of free will. We're basically, on a planet like Earth, you're looking at society and you're looking at, oh, there's a certain role. I'd like to know what it's like to be a pundit, for example, an expert. I like to have that experience. And then you go into that experience. And you're allowed to have it for as long as you want. So when the person is saying, why do I need to overcome this? I don't see the problem. Well, you probably haven't had the experience long enough, right? And the person is always also saying, what if I clearly see a subconscious self but lack wisdom to let go of it? Well, what is it that gives you a certain experience? It's that you create a subconscious self. So you want to be a pundit. You are creating a subconscious self in the identity, mental, and emotional level. It's a structure. It's like a perception filter. And when the conscious you goes into it, you are identifying yourself as a pundit. You see yourself as a pundit. You mentally create all of these, teachings, arguments, philosophy, and you emotionally feel a certain way. So you're having the total immersive experience that you are a pundit. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's part of what you're allowed to have on Earth. So lacking the wisdom to let go of it, well, it could be that you just haven't had enough of the experience. But on the other hand, you also have to ask yourself, why are you asking this question? Because normally when you have the immersive experience, you can't see that this is a subconscious self. So in a sense, when you are completely immersed in this subconscious self, you couldn't even ask a question like this. I clearly see a subconscious self. You couldn't see it if you hadn't started separating yourself from it. And so why have you started separating yourself from it? Well, because maybe you have reached, or you're very close to that saturation point, you've had enough of it. But you haven't fully seen that or acknowledged that consciously. So you could say, the person says, I don't see the problem. Well, but again, then why are you asking the question? There must be something that makes you ask the question. So what I would say is take a closer look at it and see what are the consequences of having this self? What are the consequences for you? How you see yourself, how you see the world, how you see the role you're meant to play as a pundit? And do you begin to realize that it limits you? That it actually puts you in a certain role that's hard to break free from? And it is actually a straitjacket. It's a mental prison. If you're asking the question, maybe you just haven't consciously realized what you sense intuitively, that you're beginning to feel like, it's getting old, it's limiting me, I don't really want to be bound by this anymore. And then if you can tie into that, and maybe that can help you develop the motivation for letting go of the self. I don't know really what else to say. It's a matter of having had enough of the experience, seeing that it limits you, and then coming to see the illusion behind it, which is really that you are better than other people if you know more than them. And see that that limits you, because you always have to know more than others. You always have to know better than others. You always have to be the superior one. You always have to be right in these arguments. So are you, for example, getting yourself into a lot of discussions and arguments with other people where you always feel like you have to be right? I came to a point, where I saw this in myself, and I thought, I've just had enough of these kind of intellectual arguments. That, at least the kind I was getting into as I was younger. And I think that's what you have to come to. And if you haven't come to that point, then if you don't see any problem with it, then, but as I said, why can you clearly see it as a subconscious self if it isn't because you are ready to start at least processing it and looking at it from different angles, looking at how it limits you, and then you can say you need to come to a point where you make a decision and say, this is enough. I've just had enough. I'm letting it go. I don't want to be a pundit anymore. I don't want to. Another thing I've said many times is that the self usually presents a problem that you have to solve. And so whatever it is you do with a pundit, it could be that you're supposed to know everything or understand everything, or you're supposed to always be right, or you're supposed to be able to explain everything to people. I, for example, felt that I always wanted to help people, but in order to help people, I had to make them see what I couldn't see, so I had to always be able to come up with an argument, and if people couldn't see something, it was my problem that I had to come up with a better argument. I had to become better. But I realized two things. First of all, that there are some people, it doesn't matter what argument you come up with, because if they close their minds, there's no argument that will convince them. That was one thing. And then I realized I've had enough for trying to solve this problem or convincing other people of something. I don't personally need this anymore, because I don't want to spend another 1,000 lifetimes trying to solve this problem or being able to convince other people. I'm just letting it go, letting the whole thing go, because I want to be free of it. And it's a very big relief when you are finally free of something like this that's kept you in the straitjacket for a long time.